Reddit. What is the most fucked up way you got back at someone that wronged you? Back in high school, I dated a girl for 6 months before she decided it wasn't working out anymore. And she cheated on me with about 6 guys and stole my iPhone and wallet to buy drugs. I wanted to report her to the police like my parents encouraged me to, and to prevent me from doing. Her brother jumped me while I was walking home with his friends and busted open my lip pretty badly and threatened to kill me if I reported him or his sister. This is South Florida, so I believed he would do it. My dad got a new job and we moved to a new city, but I was still pissed about this whole situation. So I did the next best thing. I created 2 fake Facebook accounts of a random hot girl and guy, spent some time making it look legit with friends and such, and added her brother on Facebook with the girl and my ex with the guy. It wasn't too long before he started flirting me up and tried his best to get in this girl's pants. On the other hand, having already courted my now ex, I knew exactly what to say to charm her to the point that she was in love with me. This is where it all begins to get fun. I started a sexting relationship between the brother and sister with me as the intermediate thanks to Google Voice. Both of them had fairly typical South Florida bodies, so nothing really gave anything away. And I did a fair amount of photoshopping to remove identifiers in the room that may give away anything. This went on for about a month and a half, totaling about 200 or so nudes between the two of them, when I decided to reveal the curtain and send a group of unedited pictures that included key identifiers, face and rooms. Oh, holy Jesus, how shit went down. I only wish I had some way to see how they reacted. Friends who still lived there told me her brother moved in with his dad that week and that they no longer spoke. All in all, about 4 months till I got my revenge, but it was amazing. Friend and I were fishing at a local creek when my friend's brother pulled up. Being the dick he normally was, he started throwing rocks in the creek to scare the fish, and then he threw my friend's bike in the creek. We were 13 at the time. My friend was crying and I felt so bad. I jumped into the creek and got his bike out, told him we would get his brother back. About a month later, we were fishing again, and it was the dead of summer. I told my friend today is the day we get his brother back. Caught a 2/3 pound carp, threw it up on the side of the bank, and left it there until we were done fishing. At the end of the night, went back to his place. His brother's car was sitting on the street. We took the carp, sliced it open, and threw it under the driver's seat, and rolled his windows 3/4 up. The next morning when we woke and left, I forgot about what we had done. Well, when I rode past JT's car, I noticed the window was kind of black, and then I took a closer look. It was covered in flies. I actually got scared because I did not expect a window caked with flies. By the time I got home, I was laughing in tears because his brother was always such a dick to us. Fast forward to baseball practice about 3 days later, friend had a black eye but smiled at me when we made eye contact. His brother flipped out and ran into his house and punched him in the face. His mom flipped out on his brother. Brother was grounded for the rest of summer. His mom said that my friend would never do such a thing, and he played along and acted as if he had no idea. Apparently, the smell never really left the car. We nicknamed his brother Lord of the Flies. I moved around a lot as a kid. Dad in the Army. Parents divorced. Not staying in one place made long-term friendships impossible, but my situation attracted bullies like flies. I moved to a new school. A bully picked up my scent instantly, tripping and shoving, making fun of my clothes. Nothing too terrible, but I was already unhappy, so I felt miserable anyway. One school day, I asked to use the restroom. I passed by said bully on the way into the bathroom. He actually didn't do anything to me this time. When I entered the restroom, someone was in the only stall crapping on the floor. I walked out of the bathroom disgusted, ready to tell on them. I was 7 at the time. I was ready to re-enter my classroom when an incredible yet devious idea came to me. I went straight to my bully's classroom and walked inside. Everyone looked at me, which normally would have given me enough hesitation to turn me 180 and back to class. But that day, I didn't so much as pause. I walked up to the teacher's desk, pointed at my tormentor, and boldly proclaimed that he had shit on the bathroom floor. The teacher's reaction was better than I could have ever expected, for me. She made him follow her into the restroom while he cried and slobbered out, "I didn't do it, he's lying," over and over again. She then grabbed a wad of paper towel, handed it to him, and we watched as he picked it up and put it into the commode. She thanked me for telling her and told me to go back to my classroom. This happened about 20 years ago. I still look back at this moment as a turning point in my life, like I became me then. I worked as a server in a fine dining restaurant in a touristy town in Florida. The owners, a husband and wife team, were notorious for being cruel and petty bastards. But it was 2008 and I had just been laid off, so I had to take anything. On top of that, I was engaged to be married, paying for the wedding ourselves, and planning a move to NYC as well. This could be an incredibly long story, so I will just give a few examples of their batshit cruelty. Dyslexic server who trained me, fired a week after I started because he took too long to write the specials on the chalkboard. They knew he was dyslexic. His replacement, Deck, 23rd. She was fired for selling the wrong bottle of wine. While this was definitely her mistake, their handling of it was despicable. She sold a $125 bottle of wine for $35. Restaurant prices, not the restaurant's actual cost. Those were $56 and $10. The owner let the table know of the server's mistake, saying, "I hope you are enjoying that bottle of wine. It's actually a $125 bottle. But don't worry, you don't have to pay for it. Your server will have to." Needless to say, the table was furious for being put in that awkward position and were gracious enough to give an awesome secret tip to cover the cost. Here is the nasty part. She finished out her shift and paid the total $125, thinking she still had a job. She was fired on Christmas Eve by text message. Me. I kept quiet as much as I could. I saw that whenever you shared any bit of your personal life with these fucks, they used it to torment. The wife owner follow me around the FOH and berate me in increasingly weird ways with the intent to emasculate. Once they met my fiancé, and from that moment on, the wife owner would make jabs, saying, "She doesn't seem like she is too thrilled to get married," or "She probably expects better," and then laugh it off like she was just joking. It was my strategy to just eat shit and save money and not let it bother me. She figured this out right away and got downright sadistic, trying to see how far they could push me and see what I would do without complaint. I managed to suck it up for 2 years, thanks to alcohol, no backbone, and financial need. My breaking point was when she told me to take away the chair our hostess was sitting in when no customers were around. Granted, sitting on the job is supposedly unprofessional, but she was an elderly woman sick working outside. The hostess wouldn't dare call in sick as she was working here illegally from Hungary, and similarly had to eat as much shit as was thrown at her. So rather than talk to the hostess and possibly take over for her sick employee, she asked me to snag the chair from her without explanation. Here is the fucked up part. I did it. I fucking did it. The hostess understood. Really, what could she say? She knew what was happening and gave me this look of understanding that I'll never forget. I got a few feet away and put the chair back, looking straight back at the vile shit stain that asked me to be cruel to another person for her amusement. The owner didn't say a word to me about my subordination and gave me the cold shoulder for the rest of the evening. 2 weeks later, I was closing out my tips and receipts with the husband owner. I had counted my bank prior to cashing out with him as I always did. Everything added up just fine. Turns out he had secretly added in a cash ticket to my till for $150. It showed on the report he printed at 1 minute before running the cash out report. I had only 4 tables, all cash tips on all credit card tickets that night, so it was not hard to keep track of. Lucky me, I thought. I questioned this and said I had double-checked my math and he must have made some mistake. His response was, "If you don't like it, there is the door." That pretty much sealed it. I knew what was happening, and luckily, my brain initiated the "you is bout to be forced to quit, so you don't gets the unemployment money's disaster recovery response." I refused to pay him and said I will be returning to work tomorrow for my next scheduled shift, and we can work this out then. He said, "Fuck you, get out." I was fired. This was very important. I was fired. I didn't quit. I was a month away from moving to NYC with my wife to try to start a career in my field. I just needed one more month of saving every last penny I made, and I was out. This pretty much fucked me. So I filed for unemployment, stating the reasons I was fired on my last night, which met the eligibility requirements. The unemployment office contacted my former employer for verification, and he said I was fired for stealing wine, and there were witnesses. My claim was denied. The next step was to dispute the claim. I disputed, and it went to the adjudication process. Basically what amounted to a phone hearing between my former employer, an unemployment caseworker, me, and any witnesses. This is where I got revenge. I knew of the upcoming hearing, and my employer was notified by mail of the date. The letter explained the process and instructed to line up any witnesses and materials needed for the case. It also stated that you have a period of time to reschedule the hearing if needed. An unemployment worker explained the process to me over the phone before the letters were mailed. I then paid an anarchist punk guy with beer to steal any of their mail from the unemployment office and bring it to me. Leading up to the hearing, I also reported them to ASCAP for playing copyrighted music in their establishment without paying dues, a fairly hefty fine, and reported some of their more crooked dealings to the IRS, namely how the wife owner would use her name as an employee for several of the illegal workers, underreporting earnings, etc. I also dropped a dead fish into their gutters above their patio, waited a week for the rats to appear, and called the Heath Department. At the time of the hearing, the owner was caught off guard and tried to reschedule. He was not allowed to reschedule because the letter, which he never received, stated that failure to attend the hearing automatically results in a ruling for the other party. He complied, and we went along with the hearing without his fake witness. During the hearing, I kept calm, but he lost his temper. I answered my questions in a way to really get his anger going, and it worked. The key question posed to my former employer was, had he not stolen any property, would you still have fired him? He slipped and said yes, sending the ruling in my favor. A few weeks later, I received my check for all the past months of unemployment. It was enough to get me to NYC. 2.5 years later, I am still married. Ha, bitch! And found an excellent job in my field with great pay, benefits, an awesome boss, and union representation. They are struggling to keep the doors open and have both had a host of financial problems. During the last year or so of my marriage, I was spending a lot of time out of town, commuting for 3-4 days a week for work. One night, I was working remote and decided to do some upgrades on my home computers. So I remote in and noticed that the connection is really slow. I do some network traces and find that my wife's computer is participating in a video chat with someone in another state, one where she has no family that I know of. Curiosity piqued, so I start to monitor more stuff, like IM conversations which are not encrypted. Over the next few weeks, I keep my mouth shut as I collect more evidence, mostly Yahoo and AM conversations. I also had installed security cameras around my house because we had problems with the neighborhood kids, and eventually I catch footage of some guy coming and going from the house, at one point even driving my car. I still keep my mouth shut because I know if I say anything, my wife would just lie about it and somehow make me out to be the bad guy. I know who the guy is by now, and I gather more data on him. And then he does it. He plugs his laptop into my network. So, I'm a network engineer and security admin by trade. I know networks, I know how to monitor them, and I know how to fiddle with data. My wife knew this. The guy she was messing around with knew this, but he was still dumb enough to enter my domain and play around on my network. I start grabbing usernames and passwords, email accounts, IM accounts, etc. I reroute all of their web traffic through a proxy so I can monitor where they go and how they log in. Eventually, I hit the jackpot. Dumbass runs a fairly well-known gaming forum that is a major source of revenue for him, and he logs in without using SSL. He thinks it's secure because vBulletin hashes the password before sending it in clear text. However, if you know the hash, You can use it just as well as the password itself. I use his admin username and password hash to log in and make a few admin accounts for myself, naming them something inconspicuous and changing the account creation date to make them look old. At this point, I could have just wiped his entire site, but that would be too easy to fix. Simply restore a backup. No, I had a better idea. Every day I went back and deleted random posts older than 6 months. Then I deleted every post older than 6 months. I did this for 3 weeks straight before the guy suspects anything. I notice he kills one of my admin accounts, so I quickly assign admin privileges to my wife's account, then delete all my other admin accounts. She calls me in a panic because her new boy toy is flipping out on her because it looks like she is the one who hacked the forums and deleted the content. Thousands of posts are gone, and there is no way to restore them because a full restore would wipe out 3 weeks of new posts. She appears to be the only other person with admin access aside from the owner, and he is pissed. I plead ignorance and pretend I never knew about the forum until she called me. There is no reason I would know about the forum. They never made the connection between him using my home network and his forum getting hosed. To this day, new users are not allowed on the site unless they are referred by an existing member. They never figured out what happened. The incident caused him to break off whatever he had going with my wife, which really left her stranded when I told her a month later that I was divorcing her. I had collected enough evidence from their IM conversations and her forum posts to satisfy my need for closure. She still has no idea how much information I gathered about her second life.